Hi guys. This is Aman Khan, Flutter developer, and this is my channel Hybrid Flutter. This channel has been created previously, but I plan to start making videos from now onwards. Why I thought about it is is to spread awareness about this technology to other guys who are just starting out, or people who are fractional starting out, want to know about what this technology is, how it works, and how is it different from other technologies. So these questions, as well as how internally it works. This video is for people who actually know programming, have done some small projects, know about other technologies and frameworks, so that it may be easy for them to compare and see through if they want if they should choose Flutter as a framework for building their applications or not. So basically, you can make a decision. You and your team can decide if you want to go ahead with this tech or not. In this video, what I'll be doing is giving a dive through about the how the framework works. How is it different from other cross-platform technologies, and how you can leverage it to build fast, performant, and applications which actually scale, as well as we are able to deliver that those applications in less amount of time, more efficiency as compared to other cross-platform technologies. So, without wasting any time, we'll start through that. When you go to this flutter.dev website, right? So you have this architecture, correct? So First of all, sorry, I would introduce about what is it. So it is a cross-platform UI toolkit that is designed to allow code reuse across operating systems such as iOS and Android, while also allowing applications to interface directly with underlying performances. So this is what Flutter in their website gives the introduction, like a cross-platform UI toolkit that is designed to allow code reuse across operating systems such as iOS and Android, while also allowing applications to interface directly with underlying platform services. The goal is to enable developers to deliver high performance apps that feel natural on different platforms, embracing differences where they exist while sharing as much code as possible. So basically, what we can understand through it is they'll allow us to have code reuse throughout the operating system, so that we don't have to write a different module for different operating systems here, as it happens in cross-platform platforms that we don't have to, right? But also they are giving our applications the flexibility also to interface directly with the underlying platform services, like the operating system services and APIs. Flutter has given been leverage to that also to enable high performance. So basically, first of all, before moving again to Flutter, I would talk about the React and other cross-platform technologies. How they work is basically they have a wrapper outside these native platforms, right? But they basically use the widgets of native only, right? Here Flutter, how it does differently is it makes its own widget library, so we don't have to take care of that, right? This makes the development very much easier and quicker, right? This is the major difference between Flutter and React. So as to why people are choosing is uh, for example, it depends when you want to use Flutter, right? For example, if you have a talent which is just proficient on JavaScript and everything else, then it's more easier to shift to React.js, right? So that way it's very easier to you to do things. So basically, it's like a JavaScript, still, since it was being used on web technologies, and then we needed it for app also. So it was made available for app also. It has more, like, you can get some more flexibility to it. Basically, what's happening here is, if we take an example of a car, we have a diesel car and an electric car, right? No matter how you convert a diesel car or make it hybrid or something like that, right? The underlying technology, the innovation would only be achieved if you make a electric car by scratch, or you innovate something out of it, right? Same thing is happening here in Flutter. So what these Google developers did was, like, they tried to innovate, right? What can be done throughout the newly thinking approach, uh, existing approach with which React was following, and how we can do it different. So what different they did, well, like one thing which is clearly visible is like they are maintaining their own widget library, correct? They their own material, Cupertino widgets, rendering widgets, animation widgets. So, it's more easier to you. They also provide some default packages which talks with the operating system. We'll get there. That are also available. So basically, Flutter has, made easy for developers and, quicker for developers to, uh, push critical things or MVP or something like on a more easier way and quicker way so that, uh, it's easy for teams and companies to push the critical updates in less time. It's less time. So if we'll go through the to understand how Flutter works, we'll go through this architecture, what how that works. So again, I will tell like people who already have the experience of programming and already know how all other services, like who have a background in mobile development, know how it works, can would be able to mostly easily relate with me. I'll try my best to give a proper explanation in a simple way so that you understand properly. So yeah, let's start with how the architecture is being drawn when the Google engineers were working on it. So basically, first of all, they had their own engine Skia, which was a 2D graphics engine. So before Flutter came, Flutter have their had their this Skia engine. Okay, this Skia engine they had. It was a graphics engine, open source 2D library written in C++. What was it doing was it was abstracting away platform specific graphics API. Okay. So Google acquired it, okay, then released it in open source. So Google made it open source. It's a 2D graphics library. So what Google engineers thought that like this graphics engine, so they since they were looking for to develop a cross-platform approach, so they thought this Kia would help them very much greatly because you know, it has a 2D graphics library and all those communicating with the operating system and everything. It will help through them. Like they got the inspiration from Skia, to be honest. So they did not have that customer like the embedders that time. I will go through what are embedders also, but they did adopt it. So so basically they had three layers in their Flutter platform. First was the embedder, second was the engine, and third was the framework, right? So how Flutter works is it works through these three components. So first of all is embedded, so which can be custom, which can depend on the operating system. For example, there can be a different embedder for Android and different embedder for iOS. So multiple embedders they can have. So what embedders does is they are like a wrapper in C++ program, which talks with the operating system, and they have all that platform specific operations and all, which they help in, and they help us providing those native functions and sources to our framework through the use of engine. So basically, for what example we could give about it is we had this file operation, uh, we had the camera, okay, input output, or like we are uploading something. So all those things. If we want a battery information or something like that, we would need that from the platform specific API, right? For that, you can have two, three approaches. First, like approach would be to just use the platform channels to talk. Second would be to use our FFI, and third one, which would be very much large, would be to use an embedder, which will take care of most of the things. So here, see, as you can see here, there will be some native plugins. It will also handle app packaging for you, so you don't have to. So, and it will also take care of this thread setup, surface setup, event loop, interrupts. Okay. To the underlying operating system, Flutter applications are packaged in the same way as any other native application. A platform-specific embedder provides an entry point, coordinates with the underlying operating system. So basically, in Flutter, we have this void main, right? So I'll show you once. This what void main we have, correct? So here what happens, this is the main entry point of the dark token, right? So what those platform specific embedders does is like they also helps us in providing an entry points, coordinates with the underlying operating system for access to services like rendering surfaces, accessibility and input, event loop. So what is an event loop? Event loop is something, like when you have just processed something in which you're, for example, an API or something which you're waiting for response on. And like, for example, a file operation, right? And if you have built any UI and you want it to be rendered, by rendered I mean like you want it to be painted on the display. So for that also you will require an embedder. So basically we are not basically detaching from the operating systems. We're not detaching from the platform specific APIs. We are underlyingly using that. But how it is helping and how it is different from how React handles it. So basically, React has this embedder also, okay, and React has this engine also. But not that much operations are present there. But React does not have these widgets. So basically, what happens is here we have three layers. So I talked about embedder. How it works is like it has a render surface setup, native plugins such as camera, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. Okay, these are things which you can use through using the operating system. App packaging which takes care of app production, right? Event loop interop, thread setups, multi-threading, and all those things take care of. We have different isolates which we can run through parallelly from the CPU to get our work done. So this embedder is particularly part of this. Now, what Engine does is Engine will have all those protocols. So Engine will have platform channels. What are platform channels? Platform channels are basically channels which will help us, communicate with the native OS. Now you will say, कि, yeah, embedder can communicate. Why we need to know? Embedder is providing the functionality to communicate. Okay, but that functionality you have to use it. Okay, so that functionality is also being abstracted here. And platform channel here in the engine is written in Dart. Okay, maybe in Dart or C++. I guess mostly it is in Dart, which we can use it, right? So it will give us an easy glimpse view and easy approach to use what platform channels and get whatever we want. We'll have system event asset resolution is basically so there are many things here which Dart is handling which like the engine is handling for its framework. So yeah, as you can see, it's handled in C++. So here what is happening is we have this Dart isolate setup, which will help Dart in managing those isolates and everything else. We have Dart runtime management. We have this servers protocol, rendering, which will help us in painting the layout which we are doing. Frame scheduling, frame pipeline, the number of frames, how do we show them, system events. So here what we are doing is ki we are just wrapping it up and like writing it more robustly so that it's available to use more easily on the framework. To get more clarity, if you see uh, Flutter Engine, so what code they have written and how it is working. What do they say it is? Okay, it is a portable runtime for hosting Flutter applications. It implements Flutter's core libraries, including animation, graphics, file and network I/O, accessibility support, plugin architecture, and Dart content. Okay. So यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि ये पोर्टेबल रन टाइम प्रोवाइड कर रहा है फॉर रनिंग like how like other virtual machines are there, right? JDK होते हैं और अलग अलग मैनेजमेंट्स होते हैं, वैसे डार्ट का मैनेजमेंट है. So this engine, if we go to some examples, we have all these embedder engines written. This is an example of how to use Flutter Engine embedded in order to get a Flutter project rendering in a new host. So basically, they're using those things to, just host it properly on the environment and host the Flutter application, basically. This Dart runtime management plays a vital role in, running the applications throughout. Now we have this composition, platform channel, system events. Asset resolution is something we like. For example, if we get some assets which we want to show on the screen, it handles that thing for us. And also, we have a text widget. So that paragraph text widget, how it will render everything else also comes under this engine. So engine is very like as name suggests, most crucial part of the framework, which is talking to the framework as well as embedder and like doing a lot of things on the background, which is very much necessary for us. Like for composition, let's see what composition does in Flutter Engine. So yeah, that is the thing. So before I tell you what composition is, let me talk about the framework so it will be easy for you to understand. Now here comes the framework. So frameworks have material libraries, which are mostly the guidelines provided by Android and Cupertino provided by iOS. And it has a standard widgets library also, right, which can be used regardless of any platform. And we have the rendering library, we have the animation libraries written, painting libraries, which comes through custom paint, which you can, basically they are dependent also, and we can use it customly to build any custom graphic layout also. Now then we have gestures. Gestures is something like when you tap on a button or long press on something or interact with something with any other operations like we hold it or on tap hold like those gestures. And then we have a foundation library. So foundation library is mostly like we won't use it, we won't import it anymore. But foundation library, like all those widgets will material and Cupertino libraries will depend on those foundation libraries. They will need some things from there. The foundation is something the root which is coming in, which is talking to the same engine. Now, how Flutter libraries are written is like they mostly prefer composition over inheritance. So, to understand this composition inheritance difference, how we can understood it like this is let me open an existing project so that you get the review of how it works. So, I have this social media app here. So how it works is since have we have those widgets. So I have this container widget, correct? Right. So and this is my class create post screen. Now class create post string extends this get view. Or to be simpler, when we create a stateless widget, class A extends class B. This is what happens on inheritance, right? Now what composition happens is like why would we need the composition even? What happens is, for example, we have this class A, class B, and class C, and class D. Now, since as you know, Flutter does not support multiple inheritance, but we have this class A, but we need properties of all the class B, C, and D. We can only extend one class because Flutter does not support multiple inheritance. But we need all the properties of class C as well as D. Okay. So one thing which we can do is like we can use a mixin, which would like will project as an like a common class which could be used. So I can just use a mixin with class maybe with C like this, right? But still I need the properties of D and like now again I have another class V. So this will go on and on and on. Then how will we handle it, right? So there the problem arises and there the composition solves our problem. How composition works is if we go through the source code of this container, we'll see how this works. So basically it's extending the stateless widget, right? Now it has defined multiple classes inside its class. This is another class, a widget class, alignment geometry class, edge insert geometry class, correct? So, like that, multiple classes are defined here. This is like what basically composition is. So, how this helps us is like you can just go from parent to child, like a regressive composition you can do because you don't need to, depend on use inheritance and depend on all those classes and all. So this also has to do with the different solid principles which mostly all developers follow through and the design patterns. which we'll go ahead with in another video because it's a long topic. We can't go from there. We can't go to there. So this we have this container widget, right? It will extending from the stateless widget, and this abstract class, uh, depends on this widget, right? Like that. So if I need this widget property, then then how will I do it, right? So like since we cannot use multiple intelligence, this is how composition would work. Now, like what is the logic of composition here in engine? Now we'll go get through that. So it's saying that Flutter emphasizes widgets is the unit of composition. So widgets are the building blocks of a Flutter app's user interface. And each widget is an immutable declaration of part of the user interface. So all instantiated classes are widgets. ठीक है तो वो उस कंपोजिशन की टॉपिक के हम बात कर रहे हैं कि इस तरीके से वो यूनिट ऑफ कंपोजिशन होल्ड करके रखता है राइट कि immutable declaration. So basically all the widgets are basically by default immutable. Basically their state cannot be changed unless and until specified otherwise. So every stateless widget would be immutable unless until you create a state or make it a stateful widget. Also we'll go through more detail on it. But this is how it works. So we have this embedder, this engine, and a framework. This is how it will communicate. So embedder will have operating system specific features. Engine will have features related to which will be used on the framework part, as well as the Dart runtime management, the compilers, all those things which things are there, right? All those things are written on the engine. And there comes a framework which will have all those libraries which we can use while building the application so that it's easier for us to do so. Also, one thing is like Flutter has not blotted their framework, like they haven't added all the things on the framework itself. There are some things which are like on the need basis. For example, right, not every application would require camera and all those things. So they have a separate plugin of the camera which you can use if you want to, right? So they have these two. They have the directory pub.dev which will have packages as well as plugins. Packages like which would be purely written in Dart, and plugins which would be communicating to the through the operating system using platform channels and method channels, so that we can have those operating system functionality. Now, since we understood how this architecture works, we'll go move through this anatomy of an app. So, anatomy of an app is basically it will give the overview of the pieces that make this Flutter application and what things are handled. So basically, here we have this runner and this embedder. Okay, these are platform dependent. Okay, so this runner is basically which is helping us to run the application and go through that. So like whenever we run the application, what happens is it will tell you how it is running. For example, if I run this, right? Sorry, yeah. So here it is launching, right? So these Dart runtime management, all those things are being handled by the embedder. Now it is automated running export build. So running export build means something which is like it's communicating. That means it's communicating with the iOS embedder to achieve that runtime, right? So basically, that is what happening here is like this is an embedder. It has a platform specific API which is communicating with this runner and telling us if that is running, right? And this embedder is part of the engine. So this we have Aprepo and Flutter Engine. These two things are platform dependent, whereas we have this engine and the framework, which are platform agnostic. That means they are not dependent on that platform, basically. So the engine and the Flutter framework, as well as the app repo, the repo which we make after creating the application, they are purely written on Dart, whereas the engine is written on C++, so it's easier to communicate with Embedded. So we can go to more detail here, but like I just wanted to give an overview of how this architecture is, how they are like being separated, and why should we use Flutter. Also, one thing which must know is the hot reload and hot restart functionalities which Flutter has, which is much faster than the React one. Although they both use the same approach, but Flutter has more optimization here. And also, they credit that work that came Facebook for their own React framework. They use a declarative UI framework, reactive, which would react, right? So now it is telling that in most traditional UI frameworks, the user interface initial state described once and then separately updated by user code at runtime in response to event. One challenge of this response is the application grows in complexity. The developer needs to be aware of how state changes cascade to the entire. Flutter has also made many improvements in state changes, right? Which make Flutter the champion in champion in app development platform because if you're properly able to manage a state and if your application does not hang, if your application performs well, then it would be a great choice to work on, right? So this could be the thing. So this is how the framework relies on and works on. So, like, I do have more deep knowledge on what algorithms inside this Flutter framework use and how do it achieve sublinear uh, uh, optimization and all the other things, right? How the widgets inside work and what programming approaches and design approaches do they follow inside the framework. And if you want to contribute on their framework, how you can do it. So those things also I can discuss in a separate video if you want me to. You can just request on that. So yeah, this is what I was trying to tell you guys about. Like this is what the framework is, and you can use it for. There's so many applications which are made using Flutter. One of the most popular example is Google Pay, which you use, guys. That is written in Flutter, and there are so many other popular applications like BMW app and all other things which are written in Flutter. So in next video, I'll be talking, more about the starting of the applications and how you can build a more robust app using Flutter, like more concepts and what principles you can follow through when doing codes. So I'll be starting with hands-on on the Flutter and part so that people, the developers who are starting out, know how it works and everything. So basically, I'll be targeting people who already have the programming experience, but like want to know more about the design pattern, especially since programmers like behind it, they forget to use it, and how the projects can be built using proper approach, using clean code and everything else. Also keeping in mind the functionality and logical handling. So people who want to just get aware as well as get a hands-on and see through how Flutter is doing. People who are coming from other platforms can also any person who just have a knowledge of programming can come through my channel. I'll be happy to assist. So, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. If you're watching, and then do please subscribe if you like the video. Also, you can give me suggestions on what parts can I improve, what parts I forgot to mention to you or forgot to explain to you, and let me know how I can improve. Right. So, yeah. So this marks the end of this video. Thank you very much for staying with me. Have a good day. Bye bye.